Hey, it's your girl Therese, and I am back and I am better with my first season, third episode of the Lames Discussion podcast. And the title is Body Dysmorphia, where I'll be discussing two main points of how to overcome having a mental, emotional, physical, chronic illness when it comes to loving yourself and your physique. Body dysmorphia is a mental illness characterized by constant worrying over a perceived or slight defect in appearance. Let's get into it. How to accept your insecurities. Number 1, reverse eating patterns of upbringing and normalization of eating, depression, anxiety, and frustration. Number 2, nutrition over attention. Reversing eating patterns of upbringing and normalization of eating stems from how we've been conditioned for centuries of how to be based upon traditional mechanisms, right? And granted, there's nothing wrong with every tradition. There is something wrong with limited beliefs because you don't expand your horizon, right? The same way you've been eating brown rice for years. They have white, they have vegetable, they have fried vegetable, they have couscous, they have red beans and rice, yellow rice, and etc. And expanding your palate, expanding what works for your body, your blood type is very important versus what's been a conditioning of behavior with your upbringing. Because, they say when you take on the responsibility of that domino effect, that in the family, you'll get the same outcome with health problems and things of that sort, which I agree to disagree. If you choose to go down the same path that mom, grandma, great-grandma, great-great-grandma went down, then of course, then you're more prone to have breast cancer, diabetes, high cholesterol, high sugar, and etc. But if you come into one with yourself, grow inside of your own personality, and you're like, yeah, I grew up on soul food, but I resonate more with Japanese style food because of them being cleaner and more organized and more structured, then do that, because I feel that everybody is uniquely themselves and you can still carry the way that you were brought up with certain traditional mechanisms, but don't ingest your whole identity with how everyone else is, because that defeats the purpose of creating your own tribe of people, right? And it also helps reverse depression, anxiety, and frustration, because you all know that food is energy. Food is the source of nutrition. It tastes good, but the reality is that it goes down your esophagus and it distributes to each part of the body that needs those special factors to keep you up and ongoing, right? And when you fill your body up with a lot of processed, artificial, high saturated fat, and etc., it takes away from you being able to have the strength to be resilient. Because in order for you to accomplish everything you need to in the physical and spiritual, you have to take care of your temple, right? And there's nothing wrong with dipping and dabbing in nostalgia of how you like certain meals and snacks and drinks, but keep it at a bare minimum. And it helps with depression, anxiety, and frustration because it rejuvenates your body. If you eat an apple versus a donut, an apple will fuel you. It will give you energy. It will give you temporary satisfaction of lack of bloating, lack of fatigue, lack of nausea, lack of focus, versus a donut will give you great taste, but it'll make you tired. It'll raise your blood sugar high or low. It will make you feel bloated, and it will alternate your mood swings and etc. So I feel as though when you take control of having a hypothetical emotional eating disorder, it puts you in a better mindset to grasp, what your body needs once you unlearn that behavior, right? And sidebar, I think that it's very important once you get on a journey that you encourage others, whether it be family, friend, or foe, because it'll teach them how to better themselves. Life is about endurance. And when you're suppressing your emotions and alternating taking care of yourself because, I got time, and I can go rely on the doctors for pills and shots and their expertise instead of also doing your own research and figuring out what works for you, it doesn't end well. I think that it's very important to unlearn behaviors that you've been accustomed to with your upbringing and society, being peer pressure when it comes to doing fast food advertisements and mom inviting you over on Sundays for soul food, yet that it's not going to take well on your stomach and it's not good for your overall digestive tract and health, because how food has affected our community and your family for years and decades and centuries, and how you have an emotional disorder because you haven't grown into maturity with your emotional stability, as well as taking control of it by seeking help, guidance, or structure with it, and I feel that it'll change how you look at life when you incorporate mechanisms that will better you, and eating again fuels the temple. The battery is like the heart, the engine is like the brain. So take care of it because you need it in the long run. And for those that do not 100% care about their well-being and their existence, you are loved and you are appreciated, because I understand the world can be overwhelming, but don't let that knock you off your track, right? Nutrition over attention. I've come to find that, in my generation, it's normalized that being unhealthy is power and resilience and body positivity, if you will. But I think that is all great and dandy, but it's not just about the physicality that should be paid attention to. You want those 6 to 8 ripped abs and whatnot. That's nice because that makes you feel good and sexy about yourself. But internally, what does your body need? Your spirit is embedded inside of your temple, and it needs to be fed correctly in order to continue to prevail for what your duty and your calling is on this earth, right? So, for example, myself, my upbringing was based upon home cooked meals until I was about 16. And then we all had to learn how to fend for ourselves in order to, see what works for our body. And I figured out that I was really attracted to any Asian cuisine and Mediterranean. Those are my top two. And even though I understand what works for my system as an individual today, I still have my moments of, like I said, nostalgia of, I'll go get a little bag of Lay's and a little scoop of butter pecan ice cream. But I've alternated how I do it, right? If I want pizza, I'm not ordering from Domino's. No shade to Domino's. I love y'all garlic crust pizza. But, I go to Fellini's because it's better quality and it's freshly made and it's not processed. Or if I want chips, I no longer eat Lay's with a lot of salt and a lot of sodium and a lot of saturated fat. I choose Sieste, which is a vegan brand. Shout out to them. They're awesome, right? And they have about 5+ different flavors that you can choose from to play with your palate. And instead of sodas and alcohol and juices, I mainly stick to water, coconut water, Olippops, cold pressed drinks and smoothies, and detoxes and teas and herbs. What am I saying? It's not to put anybody down about their decisions, because we all are growing, right? We all are learning and trying to figure out who we are and reverse our psychology about our upbringing and society and our dieting and our lifestyle and our fitness and whatnot. But the bottom line is you have to look in the mirror and be okay and satisfied with who you are. And if you're not being authentically yourself on the pathway of your health and wellness, then it's not going to turn out good for you. And one thing that I noticed too is we like to play victim when we don't face our reality. We have to stop doing that, right? Because we're all beautiful and we have a purpose and a calling. Everybody here has a duty specifically, right? That's divided into different categories, but that's what it is. And you have to make sure that you're vitalized, and I can't wait to see, how people change and they elevate just from hearing things that can make them better, whether that be mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And that's what it's about. So incorporate small mechanisms in order to make you better, right? Get a nice workout outfit. Get a nice pair of workout shoes. take it one step at a time as you build that journey on your fitness. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to do cardio? Are you trying to do strength training? Are you trying to train for 2, 3, 4, 5K marathon? What is your sole purpose about not only taking care of yourself, but a long-term way of doing so, and do it for your health, and also to invite that space of healing your inner child with, feeling unappreciated, unloved, ugly, if you will, growing up, whether you were bullied or you were told that you're not as pretty as your sister or not as handsome as your brother. Utilize it for number 1, health and wellness, number 2, confidence, resilience, and number 3, to heal your inner child and to understand the importance of health, because again, it fuels you and your constant productivity mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And don't worry about what people think about you. Don't worry about people's opinions of what you're doing, because it's to better you, right? It's for you to unlearn and relearn what you're accustomed to. And to put yourself first, because at the end of the day, we all were raised and were taught, passed down information of people not knowing any better, just doing what they can. But we live in a day and age, which is the beautiful thing, of resources. And you can easily look up on Google, Safari, Wikipedia, Bing, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and etc. in order to learn, okay, how can I become better at this, that, and the third? How can I alternate my health? How can I alternate my wellness? How can I invite this into my space, right? And stepping stones. You don't have to go full out in the first 6 months. Take it one step at a time. Do 2 times out the week, you walk for 30 minutes. Then you expand it to 3 times out the week, and you're walking and jogging. And then 5 times out the week, where you're doing different workouts assigned for each day, gradually growing. And that's what it's about. It's about the process, not the start and not the finish line. So with that being said, I've incorporated, working out 5 days a week. The least I'll do in the week is 3. And, having a meticulous dieting, because my body is sensitive. I understand that I have to go a certain route in order to keep me fueled, but to keep all my levels in order, because I do have PCOS. And if you're unaware of that, that is a condition with your ovaries and your reproductive system. And shout out to the women out there that deal with it and they still prevail, because as you know, it's not a joke, but at the end of the day, take your vitamins, take your minerals. I say try sea moss. It has 99 minerals in it, and it keeps you up and active. It's a very beautiful natural herb practice, and it makes me feel good. So yeah, just invite that into your space. Sit down with yourself, look at your reality of your health and wellness, and be like, you know what, let me make some changes. And it's a beautiful journey. And don't beat yourself up for having those days where you're not as confident, having those days you're not as motivated. That's what it's about. That's the beauty of it. And I can't wait to see how you all grow on that journey, because it has helped me. From the age of 16 to 23, I was very inconsistent. I would go work out straight on for 2 weeks and then drop the ball, and then pick it up 6 months later and have the same routine and pattern of behavior. But then I sat with myself at 24 years old, where I was completely over it with my confidence within myself. And I was like, I have to get to a better place than this. I need to get more consistent. I need to get more productive. I need to get more tedious about my planning with my meal prep and my, a routine of how I'm dieting. What am I putting in my body? How is it making me feel? How is it corresponding with my condition? So I started inviting those things to my space. Instead of ginger ale, I switched to Olipop. Instead of regular water, I do alkaline in spring, and I infuse it with vegetables and fruits. Instead of, eating a lot of fried food, which is absolutely delicious. A 10-piece hot lemon pepper sprinkles is great. But I had to switch it up to doing just plain, or cooking it and frying it if I had a taste for it, in either avocado, olive, or coconut oil. Try your best to stay away from vegetable and canola. It's just what works for me, and unlearning and relearning, and making sure I keep myself fueled in order to be mentally, emotionally, and physically stimulated. So, I say good luck to you on your journey, and I hope that it works out the best for you. But understand, it's about you. It's about your long-term goal on this earth and your calling on this earth. And you have to make sure that your temple is aligned with your productivity. Your temple is aligned with you spiritually. Your temple is aligned with you physically, and making sure that you feel good overall, because that's what it's about. Complications come from something being thrown off, and the body already does its job by trying to fight off the issue of the virus or the bacteria or the fungi. And some things is out your control. They have many rare things nowadays that people get that, they just have to take it one day at a time, whether you are healthy or not. But at the end of the day, health is wealth, and it's not just about eating greens and fruits and salads and vegetables and quinoa and salmon croquettes. It's about making sure that it keeps you alive. It keeps you internally feeling powerful, and you owe it to yourself. And I support any and everybody that deals with issues chronically, a terminal illness, and just trying to do their best. And like I said, unlearn and relearn, and invite a new perspective into your life from what you've been accustomed to with your upbringing, or, what you've ingested from your mom, your dad, your grandparents, and etc. And society at hand, as I said. So with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will see you all on the next episode. Peace and love.